Talk radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right, welcome, Fade to Black. How you doing? Today's Thursday. That's right, it is. It is my Friday. You want to be me, don't you? That's right. It's Thursday. I almost said Friday. It's Thursday, August 22nd, 2024. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. All right, an amazing week. They're all amazing around here. This week, Giorgio Tsoukalos was with us. Joseph Selby was with us. Last night, Charles Pellegrino was with us. That was amazing last night. You like that last night? Timeout. It was pretty hilarious. After the show last night, I thought about that. I shouldn't have said timeout. I should have just gave him this because for the podcast part of this, the non-video stuff in the archives, everybody's going to be going, man, what's Jimmy doing? So I should have just kept it silent because that was a lot of fun. Anyway, an amazing conversation last night. And tonight, Sheila Seppi is with us. And like I've been talking about all week, and I mentioned it last week, knowing that Sheila was coming on the show, that we're going to be talking about walk-ins tonight. And I want to just remind everybody that, and I was just telling Sheila about this. I'm guessing, I don't know exactly when, but it was 10, maybe 8 years ago or so. And open lines, and somebody called in and said, brought up walk-ins, and I watched the chat room light up and Twitter and of course email and stuff. And then about walk-ins, and a subject that I've always been interested in, but I just thought that I don't know, I did, because there's so much going on with walk-ins and what I'm going to use the word they, right? What they could be. And so anyway, I've always researched it, but the community itself doesn't really talk about it, even though the interest is there and they want to know about it. So, and then I was watching the chat room a little bit ago, and there it was. What's a walk-in? Well, tonight you're going to find out. The rest of you have an extreme interest in it, and tonight we're going to do the deep dive. I haven't done this in a few years. We do talk about this a lot on the show, and the subject does come up, but tonight we get to focus an entire show, which we haven't done in a while, to walk-ins with Sheila Seppi. I want to remind everybody that 3 major events coming up, starting, in about a week, 10 days or so. I'm heading to Alaska. Contacted Sea Cruise. Links for that are below. I believe it's sold out, but you can check it out in the links below. That is September 6th through the 13th. And that's right. We won't be doing Fade to Black. I'm going to live stream from the ship like I did last time. Pretty solid Wi-Fi and internet that happens out at sea these days, courtesy of Elon Musk. But anyway, so I'll be broadcasting from the ship. I won't be doing any fade. Well, I don't know. Maybe we could do a Fade to Black. Let me think about that. There's no reason why we couldn't, right? Yeah. It'd be on a cell phone, right? Or no, a laptop. All right. See how I do this? Coming up after that in October 3rd through the 14th, going to Egypt with Billy and Elizabeth Carson. Links for that are below. Again, sold out, but get on the waiting list. And then right after that, I turn around in November and head to Peru and Bolivia with Brian Forrester. Again, sold out, but there is a waiting list. And you can go and get signed up on that and all of the other stuff that is going on. You can sign up for other cruises. You can sign up for next year's Egypt tour. And, of course, Brian Forrester's always got stuff going on down there in South America and also over in Egypt. Okay, the links for everything are below. Now, the sightings here in Palmdale that everybody is talking about. I just spent the last 90 minutes or so responding to a news outlet that had written me and asked me a few questions. And that email went back and forth, and I'm clarifying things with that. And then a couple of friends of mine, one was a text and another one was on Facebook. And I'm literally repeating myself with everybody saying the same things to everybody. I want to be very, very clear. I see what has been posted. I've seen the videos. I've seen the report. I've seen everything. It's misleading. Okay. Now, when the event happened, I saw it. I was outside looking for the meteors. The meteor shower was going on. I was on the second floor of my house, and I got to see some meteors, and that was pretty cool. But that's when things caught my eye. There was an object in the sky that had 3 white navigation lights on it in a triangle formation, and they were flashing. But I watched, and it was up there already, but I was looking for meteors. And this, so what caught my attention is this object was going to the north. I'm pointing like with my left hand, but because I was facing east. So it was in a straight line going in and it stopped. It stopped and then turned around and backtracked on itself. Now you got my attention. What is going on with that? But it's right over my house. It's low in the sky, maybe 1,000 feet. I think 2,000 feet is maybe too high, but maybe it was. But that's still very low, but there was no noise. And it stayed in this box. Now, this thing zigzagged and went back, forth, up, down, and I watched it for 30 minutes. And it did a lot of strange things. And a couple of times, it reached out and came right, just like almost above my head at 12 o'clock. But it was more like probably 10 degrees off. But I got a really good look at it. It wasn't 6 objects. And I was out there. I had my night vision. I had my binoculars. And I can see Edwards Air Force Base, see all of Lockheed. I can see Northrop Grumman and NASA. Everything is right in front of me. Nothing. There was nothing. There was not 6 objects. There wasn't blue lights or green lights or red lights or any. No. That did not happen. It was the testing of something. And that's all I'm going to say. And I'm not going to get down to pinpointing times and stuff like that, because it's the testing of something going on out there. And you've got to let people do their testing. If it was ET, I'd be the first one to tell you. If I thought it was some anti-gravitic, crazy, backwards engineered flying saucer, I'd tell you. It had navigation lights on it. It was flashing. It was acting strange. It didn't make any noise, and it was doing some pretty cool stuff. But I watched it for 30 minutes. I didn't see any laser beams. There were no cattle abductions, nothing like that. It didn't zip into space. There was none of that. So I got bored, and I went in the house. All right? That's it. There's nothing, anything else you hear. I was there. You trust me. I live here. This is what I do. I'm out there every night. Okay. So that's what happened. ET, probably not. Secret government technology being tested over Lockheed. Sure. Yeah, I'll go with that. All right. With that, I'm serious, the last 90 minutes telling just going over it again. I just need to be clear. Was it strange? Yeah. Was it cool? Yeah. Was it awesome? Yeah. But I got bored. Moving on. Tonight, Sheila Seppi is with us. We're going to be talking about that phenomenon called walk-ins. We're going to cover it all. What they are, how they occur, their origins. That's right, them. The purpose, the effects, what's going on with our bodies, as well as what makes it different from other phenomena that may be going on, including the ghosts in my house. That's right. She's a holographic alchemist. She's a soul exchange walk-in herself who works with Arcturian, Angelic, and Andromedan energies to facilitate healing and spiritual transformation. This is Sheila's first time on Fade to Black. Her links are below, and I would like to welcome right now Sheila Seppi, and she's right there. Sheila, what's cracking? How you doing?
Hi, thanks so much. This is going to be a blast. I love to talk about walk-ins.
Yeah, and so does everybody else. Well, they like to think about them.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so before we get started, and I say that in kind of a funny, haha, joking way, but yeah, they don't say walk-ins out loud. It's more like, so what's going on? Anything about any walk-ins? They'll do it like that, right? Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. Sheila, let's get the first-time guest disclaimer out of the way, which is this. Sheila, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. But you have to accept so we can continue our walk-in. You like that?
Absolutely. Love it. Love it.
Okay. Here, you and I were talking earlier, and I'm going to ask you your opinion on this. Walk-ins are something that people are interested in, and when you learn more about it, the more fascinating it gets, but also kind of the more taboo that it gets, right? And so it's not like you're going to go to a walk-in party and listen to everybody tell their stories. It's a subject that, yeah, I know. Well, I'm asking you, why not? Why is it like that? Why is it? It's not taboo, but it's taboo-ish.
Yeah. Well, first, let me say, if this event had not happened to me, I wouldn't even have believed it myself, because we talk about starseeds, we talk about hybrids, we talk about extraterrestrials, and all of these things seem to be a little bit more palatable. But when you start talking about your soul, that's very, very personal to each other. Everybody has their own ideas, their own opinions. And that's just not something that people go around talking about, is their souls. And when you talk about walk-ins, the soul is being affected. The soul is being upgraded. Or in my case, the soul was swapped out. Now, just real quickly, for those of you who are not familiar with my story, in 1999, I was a very, very sick person. I was diagnosed with bone cancer, brain tumors, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. I walked with a cane. I had erythema nodosum in my lungs, and it was difficult to breathe. I had the beginning stages of rheumatoid arthritis, so it was hard to open and close my hands, and my health was in the toilet. Needless to say, I was getting very depressed. I was starting to have anxiety, frustration. I was in a dysfunctional marriage. I had 3 kids, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the whole life story. And I went to bed that way. But what felt to me like 7 o'clock in the morning, it was as if somebody reached down, grabbed me by the hair of the head, pulled me bolt right up in bed, and lightning. That's all I can say, is like lightning ran through my body. And then I was in white space. And I don't know how long I was in white space, but I do know that when I started coming back to myself, my peripheral vision came in, and then my frontal vision. And this was so profound that even as I'm talking about it right now, and this happened in 99, I can recall the sensations. I can recall how I felt. There were no aromas associated with it. But when I did come to myself, of course, the first thing I'm thinking is, what am I doing sitting up in bed? But as I'm looking around the room, everything's the same, but everything was different. Everything. I didn't know how it was different. And I really had no context for what was happening to me, because first off, I had never read a metaphysical book. I was living in the Bible Belt. Okay.
Mm.
And this did not exist in my world, what I'm getting ready to tell you.
No, that's heresy. That's heresy.
Yeah,
Get kicked out of the church for this. Yeah, yeah, right,
and
right,
everyone
right.
that I knew, was kind of like this as I'm trying to
Sheila,
explain
we need to sit down and have a talk with you.
Well, how many
Right.
times did I hear that one?
Yeah, right. Okay. So, but also, no metaphysical book. So obviously, no idea about a walk-in or even knowing what the term was or have heard it before, right?
Exactly. But all of a sudden, which I did not have before, I was clairvoyant, clairaudient, claircognizant, just like that. I still am. But when you have all those gifts that just open up all at one time, it's very overwhelming. On top of that, I started remembering past lives, which I did not believe in. I thought that was a cop-out. And the other thing is I started remembering all of these universal truths, which I'd never studied, and healing modalities, which I wasn't even interested in because I was walking this Western medicine path. Okay. And so I had no idea what had happened to me. I just knew everything was different. I knew there were people standing around talking to me that no one else could see. I could hear things. And as long as I really followed what they told me, everything was okay. I would know things about people without them even having to tell me. So that in and of itself started freaking me out. And then as I tried to explain this to people, they didn't know what I was talking about. But one of the most beautiful things I remembered is what it was like for the soul to come into the body and what it was like for the soul to exit the body. And when I heard a particular piece of music, I was brought to tears. And it was Adagio, strings, D. Okay. When I heard that, it was like, oh my God, that has the exact same vibration as when you're coming into the body. It's this very beautiful, smooth kind of coming in. And when you leave, it's even more beautiful. And it's kind of like, you just shake everything off. And so having these kinds of memories with no context really began to concern me. I had studied psychology, and so I knew just enough psychology to be dangerous. So immediately I started saying, well, I'm sick. I've got this.
Yeah, you've lost your mind. Yeah, you're psychotic. Yeah.
I've had a psychotic break. And so all of my friends convinced me of that as well. And so within 3 months, I had left the marriage because everything about me had changed. Now, one of the scariest things that had changed is I had very few memories. And so psychology, I'm like, oh my God, I've had this trauma that has happened. I'm having disassociation. I'm having memory lapses. But I had memories of my 3 children being born and a few select memories of birthdays and playing together. The husband is kind of like, I don't even know why I'm married to him. Within 3 months, I had left. Everything in my life was turned upside down, and I've never been the same since. And
are you still single?
Oh no, I've remarried.
You married your walk-in?
No.
But can we stop there for a second, if that's okay? You've got to. Okay, I understand the divide. I just did the same thing 4 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. But now you've got your next situation, your next relationship. You got to deal with this. How do you deal with it? Do you sit down and go, okay, we got to talk right before we move forward? How do you handle that?
The first time I met him, I told him I was a walk-in, and he's like, "Oh, that's cool. What does that mean?" Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so he's like, "Oh, okay, cool."
You know what? Marry him.
I did. So he was a martial artist. And so he understood chi, understood ki. And so he could wrap his brain around how something like this could happen. And in some ways easier than I could, because you have to realize when a walk-in, like in my case, a soul exchange, when you have a soul exchange that happens, you come into a body that's already been imprinted by the previous soul. So when we are born, we have our physical genetics, we have our soul epigenetics, and as they come together, it creates us through this holographic grid. When you have a walk-in that comes in, everything has to shift. Now, in my case, there was very little of the walk-in that started coming in. It was kind of like drip, 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 because the body, remember, was very sick. Instantaneously, I was healed. Now, had I been a doctor, that's just me, I would have been running all kinds of tests on this person that came in that was sick and now is well. But I do believe that I have been divinely guided, guarded, and protected, because they were just like, oh, well, I guess our medicines really did the job. And I'm like, absolutely. I'm not going to tell them what happened, because I still didn't even understand it at that point, because that was within the first 3 months. And so as more and more of the soul essence comes in, it begins to imprint on the cellular structure. So what does that do? It starts to bring up all the old things that need to be healed from the other person's life, all the ancestral stuff, all the karmic bonds, everything that the person that vacated left undone. So that's the way I spent, the first several years, is dealing with all this trauma drama that this person had left behind.
Okay. That's amazing, by the way. Let's back up. What's the definition of walk-in?
Well, there's a couple different types of definitions, but the reality of it is, in my case, being a soul exchange, it's when one soul totally leaves the body and a new soul inhabits it. In some cases, there are instances where only a partial part of the soul leaves and more of the original soul essence, through whether it's a higher self, whether it's through an oversoul, that begins to come into the body. And sometimes you have what's called overlays. So if this is the soul, you have another soul coming in that serves as a battery charger to help bring more energy, because just like the physical body, our soul is this plasmatic mass, which is woven into the fabric of, creation. And so it too can begin to dissipate in its vibrational frequency. So an overlay comes in and acts like a battery charger, or the two of them will merge together as one. And sometimes you will have what's called like a soul jumper or a popper, or, pop-ins, because they only come in for a very short period of time and then they leave. But they really imprint strongly. And sometimes they're only coming in to help someone through a particular type of an event. Then there is, what you're also going to call a soul step down or a step in. And so unlike a soul exchange, when it comes in, like this soul is in here permanently, I have received more and more essence, but this soul is here to stay. But in a step-in situation or a step-down situation, one of the things that will happen is that soul will eventually leave and another one will come in. And sometimes people have more than one walk-in scenario that occurs. And so there's all kinds of different, if you want to call, definitions. And I'm sure I am just scratching the surface about.
Well, okay, so we've all heard the story. We've all heard it. Man, I swear, I don't even know her anymore. Right? Right? We've all heard it. Right? I don't know who my husband is. So when that happens, is when you have a partner that's around you all the time,
Mhm.
They can see it. And not your friends don't necessarily, you know, that's a different situation. It's not constant contact. But when it does happen, what are the steps, if you suspect it, I should say, right? When you say those words, I swear, man,
Mhm.
I don't know her, man. She's, you know, do we go professional first? You know what I mean? Do we go see a psychiatrist, or do we go somebody else first? I mean, what do we do here, or do we just let it go?
Well, it depends on what's actually occurring. I mean, there are psychoses out there, so don't get me wrong. Not every time someone changes is it a walk-in, but because of the vibrational frequency that we now have on this planet, and because more and more people are raising their own vibration, without having a walk-in, a lot of people are bringing in more of their higher essence. Now, at the same time, some people are waking up and having a spiritual awakening. And I do want to preface this. When I first released my book, Walk-ins, Cosmology of the Soul, I got all kinds of letters from people. And I tried to, I tried to answer all of them.
Yeah,
And
right.
and I had letters, everything from they were going to burn crosses in my yard to, I'm a demon, and that I have been possessed. And I do want to set the record straight. When a walk-in comes in, they are here only for the betterment of humanity and to work with that individual. If they're not a soul exchange, the essences that's coming in is helping to raise that vibrational frequency. That's it. There are no, oh my God, this person now is crazy and they're psychotic. That's
Hurting
something
themselves, hurting
different.
others. Right.
That's something totally different. So I do want people, because I'll be honest, after this happened to me, and once I developed a relationship with my spiritual team, which is my collective, because I came from a collective, when I established that, one of the first things I'm saying is like, oh my God, am I a body snatcher? What happened to the soul? Did I kick it out? What's going on here? And, it was very easily explained. First, I was, boots on the ground from the collective, because we were doing work on the crystalline grid around that surrounds the planet. We were infusing higher light codes for spiritual awakening, healing, compassion, etc. And then it was easier when the soul of this body cried out to be released. It was an opportunity for us to be boots on the ground, to actually be able to talk with people face to face instead of working to send down the codes and watch them disseminate as they go out through the collective consciousness. And so all of that, having those kinds of memories, I'll be honest with you, it was a little bit hard to digest. And they assured me, absolutely not. You did not kick that soul out. That soul was ready to leave. Had we not occupied the body, the children would have been raised by their father, and the trajectory of their lives would have taken on a totally different path. And so it's not so much that I came in to, raise the children, although that was a very important aspect. It was the fact that when the soul of this body cried out to be released, because walk-ins either happen from an instantaneous agreement like what happened with me, or it is written into a soul plane. You can't just lay there and pray, I want to be a walk-in, I want to be a walk-in. Otherwise, everybody in the world would be a walk-in. Okay. And so it just doesn't work that way. But when they saw the opportunity to come in and to be able to assist humanity during this particular time on the planet, we just kind of jumped at it, and an instantaneous agreement was made. And then I came in.
You must be the funnest person at dinner. I swear. I swear. What a conversation.
And I know I do talk about this, but the reality of it is, Jimmy, we all are souls, period. I just got here a little bit differently. And everybody comes from somewhere. You either come from another planet as a star seed, you either come in as a dimensional being, you come in from the source energy. That's it. That's how we get here. Now, we could have had elemental lifetimes, we could have had this, and the reality is we have all been everything. So everybody's like, oh my God, this is so great. You must be so special. It's like, no, I'm not special at all. I'm just like you are. I just got here a little differently. My timing was off, or my timing was impeccable. But we're all souls. And I can guarantee you, based on the knowledge that I have, every single person listening to this, even whether they know their soul plan or not, it is ordained for you to be here at this particular time because you're holding a specific frequency that Gaia needs in order to make this transition that we all call the shift or the event.
All right, I'm going to go a little bit outside of the box. We're still in this conversation.
Okay.
Okay, but we're going to walk into another box for a second.
Sure.
Linda Moulton Howe writes about soul containers. And I've had many conversations with her, both public and private, about this. And we sat, it was myself. Check this out. Imagine sitting with this group. This is real, right? I have the video. It's myself, Richard Dolan, Whitley Strieber, William Henry, Linda Moulton Howe, and myself, the five of us. And I'm thinking there might have been a sixth, but we're sitting, right? And just having an open conversation that we filmed, but just an open conversation. And this part of the conversation came up about soul containers and what that meant to the universe and ET, and part of the mission objective, and what the soul containers were used for. Now, it sounds like a strange, narrow genre of a topic to get into, but all of us engaged in this and had different ideas about it. Is there an ET agenda that is involved with souls and soul containers when we're talking about walk-ins? And is it the same thing?
Well, there are very active programs within some of the other populations. So to me, when we're talking about ETs, we're talking about ourselves and we're talking about our galactic family. Okay.
Right.
And so they live there and we live here. That's the only difference. And yes, there are agendas to help to raise the consciousness of this planet in a very organic and gentle way, because based on the information that came to me from my collective, this is going to be one of the first planets that makes this type of a shift without having direct intervention from another group. Okay. And so when you watch Star Trek in the early days, when we watched it and they always talked about the prime directive, there is a prime directive that you cannot, like, we couldn't have 100 ships to land right now without the population being at a particular vibrational frequency. Okay. So these other groups are trying to help humanity by bringing in walk-ins and the walk-ins that I know, they're all healers, they're teachers, they're seers. I don't know anyone who has walked in that just has a regular 9-to-5 job. Now, they may not be awakened yet to the fact that they're a walk-in. I don't know. My experience was very, very profound. And I've talked a lot about it because what I'm hoping is these individuals that are out there that have had these kinds of experiences, this might help to wake them up, because walk-ins come from the same place that everybody else does. On a higher plane, there are all kinds of agendas, but the agendas that I'm aware of are the ones to help and aid humanity.
How is it typical how they occur? Now,
No.
I know you talk to so many people, right? Is everything just a little bit different? Is there overlap and similarities and connections, or is it just all just a little bit different and unique?
There can be similarities. When I've talked with people, the way their walk-ins, I've never met anyone who had a walk-in experience like that I've had that was fully awake and aware and had that kind of an experience. I've talked with my friend who is a walk-in, and he basically, when the walk-in came into him, he raised up out of the bed, it like arched his back. He had no idea. He was fully awake and aware, had no idea what was happening to him. And he also had no context for this. And so there are those kinds of situations. There's also situations where people have automobile accidents or people are in comas. And when they wake up, some people have full memory. Some people have partial memories. Some people have no memories of their past life. They don't, I think that it's really unique. And I have talked with thousands of people who are walk-ins, and every experience is the same as far as when they wake up to the fact that they're a walk-in, there's kind of like that shock and awe, or they come in fully awake and aware and they're like, oh my God, I'm a walk-in. I'm from this dimension and I'm that and this. And everybody's like, again, whoops, sorry, I knocked my computer off. They're like, no, get away, kind of thing. And so a lot of people that I also know, their families turned their back on them and they have not had anything to do with them since, because I think once you know, and I've never backed up from that fact. I've never tried to act like I'm not a walk-in, but at the same time, I have a whole clientele here in the Vail Valley. I talk to people about their souls. I don't necessarily tell people that I'm a walk-in unless the conversation goes that way. And so everybody's a little bit different and unique.
Now, the critical thinkers out there that are listening to this are going to ask the obvious question. So I'm going to ask some of the obvious questions.
Sure.
What happened? Does the new soul overtake? What happens to your previous soul? Is it ejected? Is it put on standby? Is it put in RAM memory for later use? Put in the refrigerator in a Ziploc bag? Again, not making jokes here.
Right.
These are very, very obvious questions. And now you've got 3 to answer, but I'm going to give you a 4th. Does the new soul, does the walk-in have a name?
My walk-in has a name. My collective's name is Yani, and my individuated name is Noela. So if I were to go by my spiritual essence name, it would be Noela Yani. But my name is Sheila Seppi. I have a lot of the same types of vibrational frequencies going on. And as of now, I have never been called to use that. Most people who come in as an individuated aspect. Okay. If they are a starseed, it's an individuated aspect of the soul that comes in. You're an individuated aspect. Our souls are so large, there's no way that we can fit into the body. So let me back up this way. This is our oversoul. Okay. This is our, what I call the prime oversoul. And there's many layers going up and out and down and all kinds of things, but let's just use the fist as the oversoul. This is the experience I'm having now, because this is all of my collective energy is here. We were one, and now we are one is individuated. A lot of times people are having multidimensional aspects that are incarnated all at one time, maybe one on Earth, maybe one in the Pleiades, maybe one as a dolphin, maybe one as an air being. You just don't know. But these are all multidimensional aspects of ourselves having the same, experiences, just on different levels, different planes, possibly even different planets. Okay. What was question 2?
Question 2, what happens to your old soul?
Okay. My old soul went back to wherever it was. Now, let me explain this too. As per my memory, when Source desired to know itself, the individuation process began. And as the thoughts began to occur, there were what's called templates of creation that were made. Those reside within what my team calls the source consciousness monad. All right. Let's just take the one for a soul. So, and there's hundreds of billions for universes, for all types of different life forms, for non-life forms, etc. So we've got this one template, and we're going to call that the Master Oversoul. That contains all of the information for all the souls that are ever going to incarnate. Within that, there's certain vibrational frequencies that begin to come together as if a magnet is drawing it to itself. And these are what we call our soul group. Within that soul group, we have other smaller clusters that begin to individuate, that vibrate at a similar frequency, and those are called our soul families. And within the soul families, we have objectives. One group might say, hey, I'm going to go to this earth experience and I'm going to learn about compassion. Who wants to go? Yeah, I want to go. Okay. I'm going to go over here and learn about X, Y, and Z. Okay. So that's your soul family. And a lot of times soul family members will incarnate with each other to support for the growth of the soul. Okay. Doesn't mean they're going to be your best buddy. They may be your nemesis. They may be the person that really pushes you to learn how to maintain cool. Okay. Learn how to drop into forgiveness and open up. Say, oh yeah, well, I don't agree with them, but that's a pretty interesting point. So we come in to support each other on so many different levels. And from there, then we individuate into whatever form we're coming in. Now, my collective called that process a Shantias Khan. And within the Shantias Khan holds this higher self. Oh, let me back up. The monadic experience, as any individuation begins to come, let's imagine the individuation is starting to occur. So it comes down like a capsule and surrounds everything. That's the higher self essence, because it's still connected to source. It's still connected to the highest of the high information that we can obtain. But when you come in through the Shantias Khan, you bring in an aspect of the higher self. You also bring in everything that's necessary to create your spiritual bodies, because without the spiritual bodies, this body doesn't function. And you also bring in that essence of the higher self that's going to attach to the form that we call the soul, which becomes the personality of this lifetime. And so as we're having this experience, we're constantly feeding information back up into our oversoul. So the Sheila that was here previously was somewhere out here in another soul family, but we all came from that original master oversoul. So there was always, with all walk-ins, there is a resonance factor that has to be there before that the solidification process to the human form can happen. Okay.
Okay. Time out.
Okay.
It's this. So does the old Sheila go into the oversoul, join another family, head down another tentacle onto another planet in Andromeda, and go, "What's up, man? I just got here from Earth." What you know what I mean?
It could.
Really?
It could be.
With
Because,
memories, with memories from
oh,
here.
okay, here's the thing. Yes, we talk about the false matrixing on this planet. And yes, there's a lot of, negativity about it as far as disconnecting from the organic matrix. However, there's also beauty in it because it creates duality. It creates an opportunity for us as eternal beings to come into a situation and have our memories wiped. What a hoot. Think about it, guys. You're eternal beings. You're going to be thinking about this stuff all the time. If they say, hey, I heard about this great place. You can go, you can have pain, you can cry, you can do all these great things. You want to go? Everybody's like, yeah, I want to go. I want to go. And so everybody wants to come in and incarnate. Okay. And so when someone goes to another planet, because all the other planets, even outside of, and Gaia at one time was also a fifth density planet. And then because of that veil, she just became the plain 3D, which allows us to have these phenomenal experiences. But on other planets, they don't have this type of networking system set up. So when you incarnate, you can, number one, choose to have memories, choose to have some memories, or choose to have very little memory.
Yeah, it's a lot to remember. Forever is a long time.
Imagine if you're thinking about all your lifetimes all the time, it's like, oh God, I can't believe on this planet this happened and this accident occurred and all these people, if you're thinking everything all the time, you're not present with the moment. And that's what this veil of forgetfulness does, is it allows us to be present. So I don't know where that other aspect went. I really haven't asked because it was like, thank you for the body. I'll clean it up, have a good life. Off she goes. She was ready to go. And the cool thing is, I didn't need to be born. I didn't need that birth experience. I didn't need adolescence. I didn't need young adulthood. I needed an adult form that I could come into and do my work.
Okay, so Oversoul, I like that. Is that the universe? Is that like everything?
No, we're just talking your hierarchy, if you will. And I don't like to categorize it, but that's what we do here. So it's like you have your soul. Everything is contained within the Shantias Khan. The Shantias Khan is one of these little fingers inside of the primary oversoul. And that's where all the U's are.
But you mentioned the soul family, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is the entirety of the universe like this?
Oh, yes, I think that it actually is, because it doesn't really matter. The soul is the unit. The individuation process is the source decision as to where we go and the kind of experiences that we want to have. And that's why a lot of times I'm able to bring in Andromedan information or Arcturian information, whatever is flowing through, because I've had those experiences and I can share that information. When you choose to go to another place, it's for a specific purpose. The only reason life exists is for the growth of the soul and for the edification of source, period. That's it. That's all there is. And everything is happening inside the mind of source. Even though this is real to us, because density vibrates at a certain frequency that, it's like the solidification process. We have mass, we see it, we feel it. But the reality of it is we're just holographic images inside the mind of source, who decides how things are going to show up.
Now, you just mentioned you can choose to leave. The soul.
No, the soul, this soul, that the original soul to this body, she was ready to go. She was ready to leave.
Wow,
Okay.
wow. Okay.
And so if I had not come in, this body would have been buried by now. Okay. So she was dying. It was decaying. You know, it had cancer. It had all kinds of stuff going on with it.
You look great, by the way.
Well, I'm healthy.
All of that, all of the poisons and all that stuff, it just you got better. Any Western medicine involved with any of that, or no?
I mean, I had been going consistently to the doctor. Like, I started being diagnosed with cancer in my 20s. And then I was diagnosed with this, and then I was diagnosed with that. And then they're like, oh, you're going to be in a wheelchair because you've got MS. Everything went away. My health was in the toilet, however. And remember, I had 3 little kids, and I played with them by laying on the couch and reaching down and doing things. After this happened, man, instantaneously I was healed.
Did you dance?
I did everything. I went out on the picnic table. I danced. I jumped around because this was the first time I had energy. Didn't know how, didn't understand how, but I had it. And I used it, and I could play with the kids, because people are like, well, what did your kids think? Did they notice? And it's like, yeah, they noticed. All of a sudden they had a fun mom that could do all kinds of cool stuff with them, because before she was too sick to even get out of bed half the time.
Okay. Now, again, I'm asking the questions that's on everybody's mind. Does the soul and your memories that are in your brain, right? Okay, so you have the soul, consciousness, that's something else altogether too as well. But your memories and your soul, what is the connection there, or is there one?
I don't have a lot. I have asked and asked and asked. I mean, I have more as I need them. And I asked my collective one time, I'm like, I don't understand. You know, here I am. Give me the goods. I need the memories. And they're like, they're not your memories. That has nothing to do with you. You got this job to do. Get over here and do your work. You know, and so and that's just my case. A lot of people come in and that's not their situation. But in mine, I had very few memories, and I only get them as I need them. I came in with
isn't that scary?
No, because I know who I am.
Well,
at first I was scared.
Yeah.
The crap was scared out of me, you know, and then after I left the husband in 3 months, I moved to a different state, and I dates myself here. I opened up the phone book, and in the back, there was this ad. It's all I saw was this ad for spiritual counselor. And I'm like, oh my God, I need that, because I was religious. And so spirit, I equated to religion, and the counseling I felt very comfortable with. She had her PhD, and I went to see her. And come to find out, she also was of Hopi lineage, and she had a unique way of working with me that allowed me to discover that I was a walk-in. And when she first said that, I was so mad. I went there because I was your medicine at the time. Remember, I hadn't changed out all the brain thinking yet. And so I went there wanting a prescription. It's like, I want the blue pill. I want to take it. I don't want any of this stuff. I don't want to see people. I don't want to hear people. I just want my old life back. And she's like, really? You do? Weren't you sick? Weren't you you know? So anyway, she was a phenomenal support. And I ended up studying with her and being an apprentice to her for about 20 years. And so I learned all the, you know, indigenous techniques. And the reality of it is I started sitting with a group of women, and I learned about shamanism. And once I had a framework for what was happening, and I could travel and I could meet my guides and have these conversations, that's when I started learning. that's when I began to anchor more fully into the body. And even though I really didn't grasp 100% the concept, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm a walk-in. I don't know what that means, but I'm a walk-in. And the more I embraced that, the more healing came up. Now, I'm not talking physical healing. Now I'm talking about old behavior patterns, old thought processes, karmic bonds, ancestral curses, whatever was in this cellular structure started coming up to be healed. And so every time I think, oh, I've got this 100%. Every time I think that, it's like, oh, really? And then they start to bring something up. It's like, okay, now how do you choose to respond to this? What are you going to do with that? And so it's been, even with me walking through that, it's been a process of learning not just how to anchor into human form, but also how to walk in integrity and talk about this so that people don't think, oh my God, she's really crazy. I just share my experience. I don't really try to convince anybody. This is my experience. This is what I know to be true for me. These are my memories. And the memories I share with you now are my memories.
What does your family think? And not okay, well, I love the laugh. But okay, let's start there, and then we'll get to your friends and the people that you grew up with. What's your family think?
Okay. Because I had no memories, that served as a real problem. And I became very good at deflecting. People would ask me how I was. Oh, I'm great. How are you? How have you been? Tell me all about your job, your family, blah, blah, blah. However, I had to go to a funeral where there were lots of members of my family, lots of people that I had gone to high school and college with. I had no clue who they were. And my mom kept turning around in this line, looking at me. And they're like, you don't even know who I am. I'm like, it's just been crazy. I know you, blah, And so when I got home, my mom said, we really need to have a talk. Let's go sit down on the couch. And I thought she was going to say she had a disease or something like that, but she didn't. She said, I would really like for you to make a doctor's appointment. I said, I don't need a doctor's appointment. I'm not sick. She goes, honey, I think you have the beginning stages of Alzheimer's. You don't know anybody. You can't remember. We talk to you about things and it just goes right over your head. Well, I was dead in the water. I was busted and I had to tell her. So I said, do you remember when I was really sick? And she says, yes. And I said, and then all of a sudden I was better. Yes. And do you remember how I am no longer close with a lot of family members that I was once close to? Yes. I said, that's because I'm a walk-in. And I said, I was very sick. If you want to look at it this way, the body died, a new soul came in. It's kind of like a reincarnation. And here I am. And she's like, oh my God, does that mean I'm not your mom? And I said, no.
That's legit. That's a legit question.
You have a new and improved daughter. That was it. We never spoke of it again. My dad, I didn't tell until the day before my book came out. And I thought, oh man, I better tell him. Now, my dad is very religious and still very entrenched in the church. And when I told him, he's like, but with him, I had to say, do you remember when your sister passed? And all of a sudden, I'm telling you things about, her hair's not fixed right. She doesn't have her gold shoes on. She's barefoot in the casket. They painted her fingernails pink. She wanted it red, and she doesn't like the dress. And I said, but I'm not telling her son. I'm not mentioning anything. I said, you just go in, check it out, see what you think. Well, sure enough, everything I told him was true. He kind of, literally, and I said, I know this is weird. I'm so sorry. I just don't know what else to do. You know what he did? He patted me on the head and he said, honey, it's okay. You're what they call psychic, but we love you anyway.
Oh, man. So they're cool?
They're cool about it. And my dad, when I was talking to him specifically about the walk-in, he sat there, he was just like this, and he goes, that's when Jesus came in and instantaneously healed your body and gave you gifts of the Spirit.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Yep.
I swear, I knew that was coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was told. So, and they've accepted it in their own way, and it's fine. You know?
Well, it's probably been like that throughout history, right? Jesus fixed it. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Hey,
maybe so. Who knows? I just know what I know. I just know what I know. And, but they've been very cool about the whole thing.
And now, what about we've got to take a break, but I want to get this in. Or you know what? Let's take our break. But I'm going to ask you about the friends that you grew up with when we come back. Our guest tonight, Sheila Seppi. Well, the new Sheila Seppi. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Hi, this is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I want to invite you to come to Alaska with me on the Contact at Sea cruise. It is this September 6th through the 13th, 2024. We are on the largest ship in the Pacific Ocean. That's right, the Ovation of the Seas. It's an amazing cruise, and a ship this big is so much fun. We've got lots of activities and lots of great speakers. We are leaving from Seattle to Sitka, Alaska, Skagway, Juneau. We're going to end the cruise in Victoria, BC, and arrive in Seattle on September 13th. We've got a lot of amazing speakers, including we've got Seth Showstack, Scott Walter, Stephen Bassett, Daniel Sheehan, Daryl Sims, Mas Adi, Vivian Chavez, Grant Cameron, Geraldine Orozco, Misha Johnston, and Melanie Aguirre, and a whole lot more. All you have to do is go to divinetravels.com. You can also go to contactatsea.com. Both are going to take you to a full event schedule. You can check in, look at the boat, get things ready to go, and maybe get a cabin with a balcony. That's what I'm talking about. Come see the whales. Come check it all out. Let's go to Alaska this September 6th through the 13th, 2024 with me, Jimmy Church. Now, when you head to divinetravels.com or contactatsea.com and get signed up, you know what? Use my name, Jimmy Church. I'll see you there September 6th through the 13th, 2024. Let's go to Alaska. This is Jimmy Church. Please visit and explore Egypt this October 3rd through the 14th, 2024 with Billy, Elizabeth, myself, and very special guest and the #1 podcaster in the world, Sean Kelly. It's simple to do. Just go to forbiddenknowledge.com and click on upcoming tours, or click on the link below. We'll see you there. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's fade to black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Sheila Seppi. We're talking about walk-ins. And Sheila, what's the difference between a walk-in and reincarnation?
Okay, reincarnation typically is when a soul has cycled out of the body and recycles into a brand new body as an infant. And a walk-in can come in at any stage. It can come in at childhood. It can come in at adulthood. It can come in even, in elderhood. So there's no particular timing. But with reincarnation, that typically happens when a baby is born.
Now, can you choose? What if I wanted to be a walk-in?
That would be something you would choose on the other side in your pre-birth agreement, because each of us has our unremembered action plan when we come down here. We have free will, obviously, but we do have certain things that we would like to achieve. And if you decided, hey, I want to come back to Earth, I want to help at this particular time, but it's like, I do not want to be a baby. I don't want to, have the diapers. I want to come into a body that's like 30 years old. You can write that in your plan. And chances are there will be someone there that says, you know what? I only want to go up to 30. I don't want to get older. I don't want to have responsibilities. I've been there, done that. I want this first part of life. And, I even tell people, because I have a wellness center also, and I do a lot of, life coaching and different kinds of things with people. And a lot of times I'll get women to come in who have lost children or who had to have an abortion for whatever reason that happened. And they have all of this guilt. I always tell them, it's not that I give people a get out of free card, but that soul knew what was happening when it came into that body. Imagine that you are a soul that's an adrenaline junkie. What better way than to come into a body to experience that mitosis, that explosion of cellular division, all of that, energy that's happening, and get to a certain phase, and then that's all you wanted. Well, you would definitely want to choose someone who was not going to be able, for whatever reason, to carry a baby to fruition. Or what happened if you only wanted to have that birth process experience, when that soul when you take that first breath and that soul solidifies, and then you only wanted a baby experience. You have to have on the other side all of these agreements in place before you come in.
Now, some would say that this is almost like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it's not cool. I understand the positive side of this and the positive experience, right. but I understand that opinion too as well, that this is not in my control, and this may not be something that I want. And it is kind of like that. It's an invasion of the self.
Well, first off, there is no self. Okay, we have to remember we're all still having these experiences in the mind of Source. Okay, so that's the first thing. We're having a human experience. That's what's occurring, is the experience. On the other side, it's all about the experience, be it good, be it bad. Okay, it's only about the experience and the growth that the soul undertakes. And so there's many, many ways that on the other side that we choose this. It only comes into play, right and wrong, once we get into human form, into a conditioned society that tells us what's right and what's wrong. But to the soul, it's pure essence. There is no right or wrong. There just is.
Right. But could there be devil's advocate here?
Sure.
A trickster walk in?
I will be honest. I have worked with my collective about this because people talk to me about these kinds of things. They have never verified that there is a trickster walk-in. There are possessions. There are disincarnate souls that see an opportunity, that move into the form, that move into the field that we have and can influence the body. But as far as a walk-in goes, they're saying no, that there's not.
So you don't have, okay. All right. But is there, that makes sense to me, by the way, you explained it really well. Is there walk-in fights? Right? The walk-in comes in and dude, I'm not, no, out. I'm staying, right? Is there that?
Sometimes there are multiple aspects that will inhabit a body all at the same time, and there is a fight for control. Who's going to do what? I'm here now, and there has to be a reconciliation, or somebody has to leave. That's all there is to it. A lot of times in braided scenarios, this is exactly what we're talking about. You have multiple aspects that come in, and they all try to braid together to control, as opposed to this beautiful, like multidimensional dance that will take place where one aspect will have the experience and step back, and another one will come forward and step back. There is this argumentative type thing. And sometimes if people, because I work with walk-ins all over the world, and there are people who said, I had to get rid of a couple soul aspects. I had to work with them and say, you're no longer welcome here. And they left because they would not fully integrate into the body. And that's, people, we all want the ascension process, but before we can do that, we have to ascend. We have to anchor into this lifetime fully. We have to be grounded onto this planet. We can't always operate up here, even though operating up here is a heck of a lot more fun a lot of times than operating down here. And there are some of those aspects that just come in and they just kind of hang out in the field, and they do not fully integrate. They're in just enough to be making these imprints, but not in enough to help with the totality of the experience.
It reminds me a little bit of, I think it was the Flintstones. I could have this wrong, but you remember, I think it was Fred. He had like the good guy and the bad guy on his shoulders, telling him what to do. Is that kind of like what the braided situation is like? The voices in my head, almost, what's the word I want to use? Maybe schizophrenic is the right way. Are you aware of the two attempts at control?
There can be, and many times there's more than two attempts at control. Again, from my experience, I feel totally guarded and protected, because unless I'm talking, unless I'm working on something, I have total silence in my mind. I don't, my collective, we work seamlessly together. It's just like this beautiful blending of energies. And I don't have that mind chatter. My son has tons of mind chatter, and he played a little video for me. I'm like, oh my God, how in the world can you operate with all those little voices going on in your head all of the time? And he goes, I just choose who to listen to. I'm like, well, that makes sense. And when I've talked with other walk-ins, I've used that, and I'm like, okay, who are you listening to? What are they telling you? And even in the scenarios where there are multiple energies vying for that, position, that control position of the body, so to speak, they still are not like psychotic voices in the head,
Right. It's not like multiple personality disorder or anything like that. That's not what we're talking about here.
Right. Absolutely not. Yeah.
And to be clear, the soul is not a personality.
Correct. You only have personality of this avatar for this lifetime.
Correct. Okay. I like where this is going. Is there a feminine or masculine soul?
No, not really. You can have feminine or masculine traits if you choose to, because everything's about choice. You could be a dragon with a green tail and a red head with little fairies on your ears if you chose to. It's all about choice. Even on the other side, everything is choice. But when you're talking about the physical form and how everything comes in, we still have 100% free will. Even if our birth plan says, hey, you're going to marry this person, you can still choose not to, or you can choose to divorce that person. There's nothing that says you have to do anything, because realize on the other side, it is the other side. It's not, we think about a lot of things we'd like to do in life, and then we actually do them. It's like, it's really not what I thought it was going to be. It's not as cool as I thought, or man, it's so much better than I thought. Until you're in the experience, you just don't know. So the soul can have all of these ideas and really want them to come to fruition. And once we get into human form, once we have that veil of forgetfulness, we might still have some of those desires that come up to us, but we are in full control as how we manifest that.
Now, okay. if I was okay, I'm not going to get into the full story. I'm not going to do that. But I was last year. I was regressed for the first time. I was not interested in past lives. Don't care. Any past life of mine would be embarrassing, so I don't really want to know about it. So there's that. But there was a conversation in the third person that happened for me for the first time. I was shocked, with my higher self. And my higher self is talking about me like I'm not in the room. And it was like, who are you and what's going on here? Is that a partial walk-in, or is that just something else altogether and has nothing to do with this conversation?
Nope, that is totally you when you take that veil off. That's who you are, is that higher self. We never separate from that aspect of us. We just are shut down to that. And we can still open up and receive more of that kind of information to come in. But a lot of times people, when they start receiving that, they don't have the language or the format to be able to accept it, that it's true for them. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Was that QHHT or?
Yeah, it was. And we did it for my TV show, and I did it on camera. And so going back and watching it and listening to it was it was disturbing. There's a lot to unpack, right? I didn't think I was susceptible or capable of doing it. That was the other challenge. I didn't know, right? And to be quite honest with you, I went under like that. And that was the other scary part. Sarah, who's such a dear friend of mine, Sarah Bressman Cosme. She's the best. And she's like one of my dearest, closest friends, right? Okay, so I trust her. But now I know. I've been out to dinner with her many. I've done a lot of things with her since then. And I said, I swear, do not hypnotize me during dinner. I'm going to make you bark like a dog. And the thing is, I know she can. That's the trippy part. Like, she has that ability. And I went under like that. It was, I asked her, I said, do you hypnotize your kids to do homework? Right? Yeah. All the time. Oh man, she was serious too, by the way. Oh yeah. Okay, so back to this. When I know that in your book you interviewed and shared stories with many people. Are all of them positive? Are all of them, or is there a negative experience with this where somebody's not digging it?
And this wasn't even a negative experience, the person who had the pop-in experience or the popper, that person said it was like they were being the observer the whole time. It's almost like when you are having a QHHT experience. It's like you're the man behind the glass wall and you can observe, but you can't really do anything. And so he said that when the energy came into him, that it was so profoundly affected him. And even though it was for 1 month, that he yearned for that same type of experience because the energy that was flowing through him was so much more profound than what he was typically used to experiencing.
Now, ET at some point is going to do the big reveal. I mean, the real one. I've had my own experience. I've seen stuff, and I've had my own disclosure, and I know that there's something going on. But I'm talking about the big one, right? So ET shows up, and the brainiacs of the world. Let's say it's at the United Nations, right? And you got some doofus raises their hand. Hi, I'm from Great Britain, and we want to know what it's all about. We're from Russia. Well, whatever, right? What's it all about? Is ET going to go, it's about walk-ins? You know what I mean? Is it going to be like that? Is it going to be a discussion about souls and consciousness and not necessarily about curing cancer or fixing our pollution and climate change problems?
It's probably going to be all of the above, because, you know, we are them. They are us. The soul that I carry within me is Andromedan right now. It's an Andromedan soul from the Andromedan star system. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to walk into the United Nations and say, hey, let me tell you guys what I know. You know, when that occurs, the planet is going to be at such a vibration, and it can't occur until it is. Many people can see things. Many people can have experiences on craft. Many people can have beings that show up right in their homes and they talk to them. But until the mass population's vibration is at such a frequency, it's not going to occur, because even now, if you're familiar with the Rama groups, you know, they can create what's called the Zendra. And the Zendra is basically a meeting place. And the meeting place is, you would have ET, which is our galactic family. You would have the galactic family come in and an Earth person come in. And the Zendra is to hold a stable vibrational frequency where both people can communicate. Because in order for them to lower their frequency, in order for us to raise our frequency, to be able to sit down and have a conversation, you have to, at this time, you have to have some kind of a, you know, pretty much a protective field, or there are protective fields that happen for these kinds of conversations. So I don't see anything happening. I mean, they're not saying, hey, you know, 2 weeks from Sunday, we're coming and we're landing and this is happening. They will be here. They are here. And if we could see what's out there right now, it would look like I-70 in a traffic jam. There are so many craft that are here observing, but they're not interfering. Everybody is curious, because when the shift occurs on this planet, when the vibrational frequency raises and we move from a third density planet and move up in our frequency range, then that will send out a ripple effect throughout all our solar system.
Okay. Is when somebody channels, and I know a lot of channelers, and some of them are really good, and I dig it, and I know that there's something going on, but I can't figure it out. I don't understand how it's done. A real channel, okay?
Right.
Is that a walk-in? You understand? It's kind of like a square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle can't be a square, kind of thing.
Right.
Is that what is happening there?
It's not,
because it sounds like you channel
that we're talking.
Okay, well, let me rephrase the question.
Okay.
When you're hanging out with your collective, is that channeling?
No, that's just more, I'm just having a conversation with myself. A lot of times when I do light language, I'm channeling a particular dialect from one of the collective members through, but I don't have to go into any kind of like a preparation state because we're already, connected. So some of the great channels that are out there, they do clear their mind to allow this essence to flow through, but then that essence leaves. So, with walk-in situations, the essence comes in and it stays, it anchors.
Right. And you
Well,
can't
it could
turn
be
it
a
off.
temporary. It can be
Right.
temporary. Yeah.
Man, I just find that so fascinating.
Yeah.
I have watched, I host a lot of Daryl Anka's events, right?
Oh, I love
Bishar.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing. And I know Daryl really well. And so when you hang out with Daryl, right? Daryl Anka, you're hanging out with Daryl Anka.
Right.
And I know I know how he speaks, I know how he acts, I know how he looks. I know Daryl, right? And I'll introduce him. I'll be I've done this many times where I'm just like, okay, you ready? I'm ready. You ready? Ready. You're gonna have 2,000 people screaming. And I walk out on stage and introduce him. And then he comes out and sits down, does his sneeze, right? Does his thing, and he changes. It's bizarre. I mean, I'm not in the audience, Sheila. I'm standing right there, right?
Yeah.
And to watch, it's his speech, it's his mannerism, it's the way that he looks. This thing happens, and it's and he turns it on and turns it off. It's a pretty fascinating thing to witness. And I don't know. Is it entanglement? Is it something?
Well, it is entanglement. Yeah, I mean, it is entanglement, but it's also an allowing of the vessel, the human vessel, to be utilized in this way. Because like with Daryl, he has this relationship with this future aspect of himself. Okay. So he is that. So it's like if my collective did I don't know though, because a lot of times when I'm talking, the information just flows through. Daryl physically changes. So there's a lot of that energy that comes in, but then it leaves and then he's Daryl again. But
it's amazing.
You channel too, because when you are, in the throes of things, when you really are, having this communication, this information just comes in and flows through you.
Well, I tell everybody that's the secret.
Uh-huh.
But see, you're right though. You're more right than I think you even know.
Oh,
So I'll say it like this. People ask me, they go, okay, so Jimmy, what's the secret, man? How do you do this? How do you do this? You've done so much. What? I want to do it too. What's the secret? And I tell them, dude, it's easy. All you have to do is learn how to connect the brain to your lower jaw. Get rid of the clutter, right? Get rid of the clutter. Get rid of all of that. And this is what you've got to connect. So you're absolutely right. When I start the show, and I do this every night, right? And I've been doing this for years. When I start the show, my life, my day, my tomorrow, that's all separate.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about any of that. Thinking about you, thinking about the audience, enjoying the conversation, and you stay in that zone and you get that connection going. And the other part to it is exactly what you're saying. You remove the mask.
Mm-hmm.
You remove the mask. This person that's here right now is me. Mm-hmm. It's not somebody else. It's not. I say, I'm going to use a bad word. I just want you to go with this. I'm the same dick in life that I am here on the show. You follow what I'm saying? There isn't, and that's the secret. And you're right. That's the connection. Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. You're more right than you know.
Yeah.
And I think that good communicators and good teachers all do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They get in the zone. They get in that zone. The other stuff, your personal life or the bad shrimp salad that you had at lunch, that doesn't come into play when
Right.
you're in the zone, does it?
That's exactly right. And when you're in the zone, you're in the present moment. And when you're in the present moment and you're not worried about the future, you're not worried about the past, you free up so much more energy to open up. And when you can open up fuller, you can receive more. And as you receive more, you can give more.
Wow, that's fascinating to me. That is just so fascinating. And staying on this is what's the okay. Is a starseed a walk-in? If somebody comes up to me, happens all the time. You remember the TV show People of Earth? Tell me you watched it.
I don't know.
Okay. Take out your pen and write that down. People of Earth. Do it right now. I want to see you write it. People of Earth.
Put it in my phone.
Yeah. People of Earth. Okay. 3 seasons, and you're going to start binging it tonight. Okay. People of Earth. You know what it's about? It's about this show.
Oh, fun.
Okay. So it's a group of contactees that gets together once a week in a church. It's a comedy. It's amazing, and talks through their stuff. And it's fascinating. Anyway, they go to a UFO convention and they walk down this row of booths of starseeds. Starseed booths, right?
Yeah.
Books and posters and stuff. And I thought, how great is that? And I've had people come up to me all the time. I'm a starseed. Is that a walk-in? Is there a difference?
There is a difference, because in my definition of a starseed, that is a soul that chose to incarnate into a body and anchored in when that baby took the first breath. And throughout its lifetime, then there's an awakening to the fact that they are a starseed. And a lot of times starseeds, they have an affinity for a planet and they're like, oh, I'm from this planet. Maybe and maybe not. It may be that just the genetics within the DNA have opened up because Gaia needs those genetics right now on this planet. Maybe it needs more Arcturian energy to anchor on to the planet. Who knows? But a lot of times you'll have avatars for a body that, just like with Vivian. Okay. So Vivian's body was prepared, Vivian Chevet, her body was prepared for her going back 3-6 generations ago, so that when the soul decided to incarnate, it could do so in the form that had already been prepared. And the consciousness of the Arcturian is being projected into the physical avatar on this planet. And so that is a true starseed. Okay. So starseeds a lot of times will wake up and they'll have different kinds of memories. It's like, I think I'm Palladian, but I really resonate with Lyra, but I resonate. And that's because they have all kinds of their genetics starting to turn on, that junk DNA that science is always talking about. It's like, yeah, you don't need that stuff. It's just junk DNA. No, it's not. Those codons have the history of who we are as a species. It has the history of our genetic lineage on the earth, our genetic lineage in the stars. And as that begins to turn on, whether it's a frequency based or whatever caused it, people will start to remember that they are a starseed. And
now, what about a walk-in on a starseed?
A walk-in can easily be,
No, you have a starseed, you have a starseed, and then a walk-in comes into the starseed. What happens then?
Then you just have more of whatever energy is brought in by the walk-in.
Right. So it's
and
not
it can
that big
be
of
a
a deal.
merger. Honestly, because we're talking literally, walk-ins are either star seeds directly from another planet, or they are from a dimensional essence, or they're coming straight in from source. So all of us here, chances are star seeds, because that's what draws us to these types of conversations. Okay. And star seeds, when we wake up, we're going to realize, oh, there's probably about 80% star seeds on the planet and about 20% of earth seeds. And earth seeds would have come in at Gaia's originating source. And of course, I have to go back to some of the Hopi teachings. The Hopi say that we're living in the fourth world right now. And they would have come in even when Gaia was experiencing all of the gaseous formations before it became a solid form and the consciousness came in. When that consciousness comes in, it's very much like the collective. It's kind of like, okay, come on, here we go. And the consciousness comes in. Who wants to come in with me? Oh, you're from the elemental realm. I'm going to need that. You come and go with me. And so those beings can then incarnate from that consciousness state. And then they become like the eyes and the ears of Gaia. They're very dedicated to working with the earth. They're very dedicated to furthering the human agenda. And then star seeds come in and they want to anchor all these other energies onto the planet as well. And that is what helps us to transition into these higher and higher consciousness ranges.
I don't want to be specific because of privacy issues. Okay. But mother and father,
Mm-hmm.
I think mom, if I've got this right, was a teacher. Dad was like a mechanic or an engineer, something to do with cars, automobiles. I mean, he's not a mechanic in a shop. It had something to do with that. Just two people. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Introduced me to their child. I'm not going to say boy or girl. I don't want to give any of that away. But about 5 years old, 4, young, 5. And the conversation, and by the way, this has happened more than once, but I'm just talking about. So I'm sitting there, and right, child is next to me, and we introduce ourselves, and the conversation that I had with this child, I felt stupid. I was like, wait a minute, whoa. And the information and the stuff that was coming out of just this tiny body, right? When I was 5, I was in a sandbox playing with a Hot Wheel.
Right.
Mud pies. Right. And now I don't know, and so I turned, and this lasted for a good long while, maybe 15, 30 minutes. I turned to the back. I said, what? It started a couple of years ago. I was like, what kind of movies do you guys want? Not this stuff, but we're here because we just kind of want to figure out what's going on. And, in introductions, I was blown away. And it's happened a few times, but that experience. Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. I don't understand these. I'm not Dr. Phil for sure. But I'm listening to this, and it just didn't make sense. I was thinking reincarnation. That's what I was thinking at the time. I was thinking there was something else going on. What are you, the Dalai Lama? What's going on? You need to get to Tibet.
Right.
But is that a situation where DNA has been activated? Do you think it's a walk-in? Do you think it's reincarnation? Where this information of the galaxy and physics and knowledge is coming out of this child, that there's just no way that it's not natural, right? what do you think is going on with that? And is that a hybrid? Is that starseed? Is that walk-in? What's going on?
It could be all of the above, but the reality is, regardless of how that soul arrived, they're having access to this knowledge because they remember. On other planets, you can choose how much to remember, and they have chosen to remember a lot on this planet. And 9 times out of 10, they've come to bring this knowledge back to the planet. They're here to plant seeds. They're here to, help awaken adults, And so a lot of these kids are star seeds that are coming in literally straight from the stars, and they remember that. They may not remember, oh, yes, I'm from Alpha Centauri, but they remember the information and they're sharing it because the veil is not as thick.
Yeah, I was blown away. I could not stop. I felt like, and then I almost, and I didn't because I almost, a few times now, this is not just this one situation. This happened a few times where I thought about having these kids on the show as a guest, but it's fascinating as that would be for the audience. Of, you know what? No, this is something that needs to stay private. And when you're 18, when you're 21 and you're an adult and you can make decisions, but as parents, I think that you need to just figure out what's going on here and not make it a public spectacle, because that's what it would turn into. But there's been a few movies made about this, and I'm just blown away about this very young intellect that's going on. And it's a worldwide phenomenon. Right. It's not just some local thing. This is going on. It's pretty amazing.
Well, and Mary Rodwell's been working with, kids for several decades and bringing this information forward. And I remember one story that she was sharing about a young man who was there speaking with her. And he was telling her that he would go onto a craft and he would unzip his suit and hang it up. And it was like it wasn't really the physical vessel, but it was, I guess, like the astral form of that vessel. Hang it up and just become the entity that it was. And it would be there on the craft doing whatever it needed to do. It was time to go. It would redress itself and come back into human form. And so, you just can't make this kind of stuff up. I mean, these kids, the amount of details that they're able to share and the things that they're sharing, like one little boy was talking about all of this information that he had brought here to start developing these eco communities. Okay. And then other kids are talking about like all these scientific theories, where does that, these kids can't just be making this stuff up. They're remembering what knowledge that they have been involved in the past. Is that reincarnation? Maybe. What would Tesla be back like if that soul came back in and he didn't have all of his memory? I'm sure he could be sharing stuff. So it could be reincarnation. My belief is that it's star kids that are coming in to help anchor. And they're saying, look, there's a whole lot more out there than you guys have been told. And let us tell you a little bit more about the universe.
Why do you think it seems to be happening now? Or has it always been a part of human civilization and we just didn't know it or recognize it or how to deal with it?
Right. Well, one thing I would have to ask also, if you took the internet away, if you took our cell phones away, and you take the newspapers and the magazines away, it would still be happening. We just wouldn't have a way to communicate it. So I think that throughout history, this has always been. And there are those people who have shared this information who were probably killed for this information, you know. But I think now it's more prevalent because we are so connected. We are so connected. And we can talk with Japan just as easy as we can be having this conversation. And we can share information. And it has come to the point where I think that I mean, and it's all, everything is frequency, but that we have come to a point that it is more accepted to be able to talk about these things. I can tell you when I came in as a walk-in 20 years ago and I was talking about a walk-in, people were like, what are you talking about? Kind of thing. Now you talk about a walk-in, they're like, oh yeah, I don't know if I'll believe that or not, but I've heard about that, huh? And so I think the more that we communicate, the more that we share, the more that we're going to be able to communicate and share, because we're bringing and raising that frequency. Just like I was talking about how you tap in because you expand and you just tap into more of that essence of who you are as a collective. We're all tapping into that. So we're able to bring in and to anchor in more and more universal truths. So who knows what the next few years are going to bring for us. I'm excited about it. I don't know what's coming. It's probably going to get really bad before it gets really good. But, you know, things are changing on the planet.
But that's the duality you were talking about. If everything was good all the time, how do you know what bad is?
Exactly.
Or if everything was bad all the time, what's good to you?
Right.
Right. A better bad? You don't know. You have to have that duality. You have to have that to put yourself in check as a civilization, and from the micro all the way out to the macro. I wanted to ask you, something just got away from me. Dang it. Something just got away from me. I had a moment of brilliance and now it's gone. Man, it was there. It was right there. Sheila,
drop into it. You can do it. You can do it.
I swear to you, it was right there. What? Oh man. There was what were we talking about right before this?
Well, we were talking about how you can't know good without the bad.
Okay.
Right and wrong.
No,
how we're shifting and how we're changing and bringing in and anchoring new information.
Okay. Man, it got away from me. Okay. So okay. This is where I was going. In 1995, this is what we were talking about. In 1995, I'll never forget that moment when on America Online, right? And suddenly I found myself in real time talking to somebody in Germany. Right. You remember that buddy chat? You had the buddy list and right. You remember that? God, we've come such a long ways. But that ability, because before that, you could talk to your neighbor, you could talk to people at work or at school or your friends or your parents or whatever, but your immediate, that was it. And it was like that since the beginning of time. Mm-hmm. And now I've met a complete stranger in somewhere around the world and having this conversation, and I was fascinated with that. And you have to think for a second, so were they, right? Now, and this was my moment of brilliance. Okay. What happened out of that is the ability to now ask people around the world, millions at a time in nanoseconds, questions. Are you having these experiences? And you know what arose out of that? The Mandela effect.
Yes.
And people were, by the millions, were going, I was thinking the same thing. Now that's the part of where this great awakening is happening, because having the ability to share that, I've been having these strange things and this thought, and I was thinking about cup of noodle soup, and now it's only called cup noodles, and my childhood is, you know what I mean? And without the internet and the ability to share knowledge, the reality of the Mandela effect would have never been known.
Right.
And that's where starseeds and walk-ins and this part of our reality has come into play, because we're able to share these thoughts that we've been having.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe that walk-ins have been here truly since the dawn of time. And I think I know starseeds have been here since the dawn of time, and, probably our progenitors and everything else. But, until we have these kind of conversations, they just stay hidden. And now we can talk about it, and who knows what the next generation is going to be talking about. Just think about that child you had the conversation with. Well, imagine when he finds other kids like him and they get together and start having conversations. What are they going to create? What kind of world are they going to present?
Have you seen, I'm going to close with this. I'm trying to think the name of the film, Caroline Corey's film, like 2 films ago, with the kids with the math, reading books, right? What the heck? Yeah. Right now, somebody please explain to me reading a random page of Moby Dick, right? Or Shakespeare, whatever. Right. Just reading a random page, flipping it open and reading the page through an eye mask.
Right.
Which I have. I have a couple of them from the company. And that's hard flat. That's, no, you're not peeking, right? No. What is that an example of something presenting itself to us, that the world just isn't as 2D as we think it is?
Yes, but it also is the fact that these kids are coming in and they do not have that veil. But the other thing is they're exhibiting characteristics that we all have, but have been turned off.
The movie was called Superhuman.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, it's a great film. And I haven't tried that. The company sent me the mask and stuff. I was a little nervous about it. Do I really want to know? And we, right? That's the thing. It's kind of like, I don't need my mind blown that much. I've got other stuff that I'm dealing with. And, things like deja vu and the Mandela effect, or seeing something strange in the sky, and, the ghost that I have in my house, whatever. I'm dealing with all of that. I don't need to be reading pages of War and Peace with the mask on.
But the telepathy aspect alone is scary enough for a lot of people that they don't even want to know what they're actually capable of. Because, if we actually went back to our innate language, which I do believe is the telepathy, if we went all the way back to telepathy, then you would know the contents of someone's heart. You would know what they're feeling. You would know there would be, how can I say, no politicians? There would be a lot of people that would say one thing and do something opposite. People are not really ready for that yet. When you talk with people, a lot of times it's like, I'm starting to be clairvoyant. I'm starting to hear things. I'm starting to see, I feel, whatever it is. And they're like, but I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to walk in a room and know everything about the people that's in that room. And so as a society, we've not been taught how to embrace these things.
But
And
that's a safe place to be if that's where
it
you
is
want to
very
be.
safe. It is
Yeah,
if you choose to be.
yeah. Now I am I have empathy for those that literally get up in the morning, drive to work, come home, have dinner, watch the news, go to bed, and do it all over again. Come home on Friday, and cut the grass on the weekend, change the oil in their car, and then go back to work because they've got to. Now I understand that we all have to do that. I do the same thing. I just do it with this show, but they don't ponder the significance of it all. They don't understand what bliss is, or dreams, or manifesting, or any of that. They don't, life after death, right? The Akashic friggin' records, whatever. They don't ponder any of that, right? That I have empathy for those people, because life is really, really cool and fun if you let it in and you let it happen.
I have to laugh because I was talking to a lady about the Akashic records, and she asked me, she goes, "Is that at the courthouse?" I'm like, "What?"
Kind of.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, it's at the dimensional courthouse. It's in that third layer of the astral, but I mean, I really, it dumbfounded me. I didn't really quite know how to say it, but it's like, you're right. There's so many good people out there that have this little schedule, and it reminds me of in our brains when we do the same thing all the time and we get those neurological ruts, if you will, and then we have a new thought, and all of a sudden now we've got all of these new synapses occurring in the brain. It's kind of the same thing that's happening in society. They're having these new thoughts, they're having these new experiences, they're hearing new things, and all of a sudden these synapses are going, but it's having this ripple effect around the world. And isn't that cool?
Yeah, I had a friend, we'll leave with this fantastic conversation. I had a friend, a roommate. He was from France. His name was Olivier. And I was 21. He was 21. But he was like this intellect, right? Drank espresso, wore a Che Guevara t-shirt. He's one of those dudes. Sits in a coffee shop and discusses revolution and politics all day. And he was great. And I like, he was just this guy. Anyway, he said to me one day, and I was really going through a traumatic period of enlightenment in my life. I'm really questioning things. And he says to me, I think we were smoking weed, and in our living room, he goes, he was like this reductionist, determined atheist, had that mindset, right? Okay. So anyway, he goes, "You know what happens when you die, right?" And I go, "No." "What?" Right? He goes, "You achieve your place in evolution. You turn to dust." I was like, "What?" And it messed me up. For a while, man, for a couple of years, I was like walking around in the zone, like there's nothing to anything, So anyway, that was 40 years ago. Last year, Olivier and I hadn't seen him in many years, 30 years, 40 years, 30 years. And we go out and we have dinner. And I go, "Dude, do you remember what you said to me?" Now he's a 60-year-old sculptor.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. And he makes these bronze. He's a brilliant artist. He's got a very nice studio, and he's known. He's a known person. Anyway, I said, "Do you remember what you said to me when we were kids?" He goes, "What?" I go, "Nothing happens when we die. We turn into dust." And he like spits out his food. He goes, did I say that? I go, dude, you messed me up, man, for like 2 years. He goes, no, I moved on from that. I go, you can't do that to me. You mean what happened to this atheist reductionist determined no free will dude? That was then. I'm not about that now. And he had grown up, and now he's asking me these spiritual questions. Mm-hmm. And isn't that precious, right? He got out of it, and I'm telling you, man, he messed with me. Like he put me in the ground for a good year. It really, it messed me up.
Did you say, and did you realize that dust was just from an avatar?
You know what he said? Okay. So I go, I hope he's listening. I swear to God, I go to his art studio, and he shows me this sculpture that he's working on. He does everything in clay, and then makes them bronze or metal or whatever, and pours that. He's brilliant in what he does. But I go in, and it's an elongated skull, kind of looks like a combination of like Alien the movie and the Peruvian skulls, but it was space. Yeah. It was beautiful too. It was huge. And I go, dude, what? That's amazing. He goes, it's Anunnaki. I go, man, you don't remember what you told me, do you? No, I don't. He says he doesn't remember it. He changed my life, messed me up, and now he's grown up into this Anunnaki sculptor, and he's amazing. He's amazing.
That's great. That's a good story.
Sheila, thank you so much. Where can everybody chase you down?
You can just check me out at my website, SheilaSeppi.com, SheilaSeppi.com.
We've got it up in the chat room. The moderators just put it up. I look forward to our next conversation. Thanks. And just keep doing what you're doing, Sheila. Perfect night. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Sheila Seppi, everybody. The links are below, SheilaSeppi.com. Perfect way for me to end the week. I'm starting my weekend. I've got it busy. You know what I've got to do tomorrow? I can't show you everything. I'm just going to show you this. DMV. That's what I'm doing tomorrow. Yeah. So, all right. So be excited for me about that. I've got to do that. I'll see everybody right here on Monday. I want you to have just an amazing weekend. I'll see you right back here. But for now, all I've got is Go Backley Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go Backley Tappy.